latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Sending you a bit of a review video on a brand new awning from Vango. So with me here today, I've got the Vango Balletto range in their ProShield category. So it's almost the basically Balletto Pro. Now, it sort of sits up from the kind of normal Balletto, so don't be confused with the name. They kind of have sort of the design, i.e. the Balletto kind of style, and then have different terms of specs. So we're talking more of the upper spec of the two. With this, we've got a bit more of a kind of a robust material, so we're looking around about a 300D material itself, and more importantly, it's actually got kind of colour lock built into it. So what that's going to help you to do is basically regain retention and necessarily not lose the colour over time when sort of UV has its kind of place in it. Vango have really kind of gone back to the drawing board to a certain extent with kind of all of their caravan awnings for 22 going forwards, and what they've really probably tried to do is create them more with kind of a caravanner kind of hat on, rather than maybe the one that tend to a driveway. You know, the caravanner customer is very different to what you want for your kind of motorhome or for your actual camping experience. So there's different kind of priorities, and I think they've done a really good job with this model in terms of resetting those and making sure that the key things are important. So one of the big kind of revolutions really is the fact now this awning with the Balletto has got a single point inflation. So one single point will pump up the whole awning, and we've done our own kind of Attwoolls pitching and packing videos. You can check that out as well, and shows you how quick, simple and easy it really is to pitch. I think it took myself best part, I think around about 8-9 minutes, which is brilliant for going away for those shorter trips. But if you want to go for a bit of a longer spell as well, it just kind of quickens that time to a certain extent. So we've got a single inflation point, which is kind of their SI Pro technology. One of the joys about this and what makes it unique to Vango is the fact that actually it automatically self-isolates itself off. So there's no need to go inside and turn any taps. The way the system works is almost like a one-way valve where the air can only go in, it can't necessarily go back on itself. So again, it goes in, it sort of, you know, isolates itself, and then you're sorted to go. Now, even though you've got a single inflation point, you can still do this in a manual process where you do each beam individually. Every single beam has also got kind of an inflation valve because it acts as a deflation valve as well. So you've got a separate one for the middle beam, for example, here. The top one would be the multi-point inflation. The bottom would be the single point. On the other two beams, what we see here is basically the inflation deflation valve. So multiple deflation valves, a single inflation valve if you want to use it to, or you can still use it in the old-fashioned method. But for me, single inflation is more than happily. You can whack an electric pump on that, let it do the work, get it to the correct pressure, sit back, relax, and let it, you know, just watch it kind of go up. There's the two additional brace beams that go into the roof. Those you do have to pump up separately and insert, but it's no hardship at all. It's only about 4 or 5 pumps, if that. In the kind of the ProShield category, in the Balletto, we've got two sizes. We've got the 330, which I've got with me here today, and a slightly larger 390. Really, they're probably the two most key sizes. I think the 330 is probably the most common one. Branching on the 390 is probably actually more like a 50-50 split. But the first thing I can sort of see is kind of the feel of the fabric feels more kind of robust. It's got a nicer kind of handle to it. And also I think the trim around it looks really quite smart. This two-tonal kind of almost kind of grey part I think looks quite sharp. And again, we've got a really nice PVC bottom mud skirt as well, so it's really going to help with that kind of wear and tear and easier to clean the muck off rather than actual the polyester material itself. Storm straps included with the whole of the awning, so again you get great tension. And one of the things I would say about the kind of Balletto and Vango's range to a certain extent is that actually they include a lot of optional extras included. So what you'd normally pay extra for, actually is surprising, you get them included with pretty much all the Vango models. The only real kind of consideration to look at are things like a carpet or any sort of internal storage pockets. So those are the kind of the main sort of things to look at. Now, they've really kind of thought about it in terms of the pack size and pack weights. So, excuse me, all of the panels in the Balletto Pro can actually be completely removed regardless of the size. So it means that what you can almost do is have like almost a shell, so it's a roof bit material, and that makes it a bit lighter when you're feeding it through the rail. So again, it helps with that pitching process. The side panels again can be interchangeable with one another, so you can switch them around. What this essentially is a benefit of is because it means it will push the kind of door that's sort of in one panel towards the front. So it means that you can come and go as you please, and if you've got a kind of a door located there, it means you're not going to be hindered. Plus the fact that it means you've got almost a door into a more usable space. Beautiful crystal clear windows around it. You've also got kind of complete zip-up curtains as well, so you can get that ultimate amount of privacy. And as we look on the inside in a second, there's kind of a zip that runs directly down. so you can kind of split it into make it kind of very caravan style. But because you've got essentially two zip pullers on either side, you can create this kind of little veranda effect like I've done here with this panel here, with all of the panels. So you can, that way you can keep the dog inside and still have airflow coming directly into the tent itself. And there's also additional sort of mesh panels you can replace these with if you wanted airflow, but still kind of the bug-free barrier as there. One thing I do like the idea, because what I talked about earlier, you can remove all the panels, you can almost carry that and pack that as a completely separate item. So you're almost going to split the awning into two separate bags, making it more manageable, easy to store in a caravan, and more importantly, when you come to pitch it, you've already got them separated into kind of that first pitch scenario with just the kind of the roof and the beams, and then you can zip the panels in afterwards. It's not that much longer of a process, but it makes it more manageable, certainly if you're not the strongest. Other things to sort of point out again is we've got this really nice kind of boxy kind of roof system. So we've got the ability for it to drain away quite nice and neatly, helps create a better internal height, oversized zips quite nice and neatly in. One thing I do like actually as well is the fact that all of the clasps and that sort of stuff as well, they're more like a kind of buckle style. So it makes it easy, if you haven't got the best fingers, to kind of roll things to the side, clip it in there, or of course with all the panels, remove it completely depending on what you want to do. From the side panel point of view, we've got a mesh door built directly into the side itself. So what we can actually do, if you want to kind of have airflow, you can bring this sort of, it's almost like, say, probably a 70-30 door. So we can open up 30% of it. So we've got just a PVC window here. That leaves basically a mesh part behind. Now, the curtain is actually the other side of the mesh. So what this enables us to do is have airflow into the actual awning, but still retain the privacy. And of course, if you just want the vision out as well, you drop the curtain down, you've still got the airflow, of course, but then you've also got a bit of vision around the campsite. So it's a really quite nice little clever thing they've done to there. All of the points in terms of the pegging points at the bottom are actually kind of webbing straps. So you've got a bit of easily ability to get a bit of tension as when you want to. Immediately there are kind of elastic points really just on the kind of door ties to make sure that door's kind of kept in position, you're not going to overstretch the door. So that works well as well. One final thing to mention from the outside point of view is we've got high level roof vents here, allowed to help increase airflow, get a bit more circulation into the awning to help fight condensation, but also make it a touch cooler as well. So that's initially everything on the outside of things. Let's go inside the ProShield and talk for a load more features that it has to offer. So now inside the ProShield, you can kind of get a bit more of an idea for certainly this overall space in here. Like I said, we're actually in the 330, so it's a great sort of kind of width. Throughout the kind of Balletto range, it's a standard sort of depth of 2.5 meters, which is what you can find on most kind of awnings, unless they're kind of a little bit deeper. So we talked about it being a single inflation point, and that's one of the joys of it. So the inflation point comes in initially here, and it goes up and then distributes itself out through these kind of very smartly kind of clear tubes. It's very kind of subtle when it's done, and again you've got no kind of isolation taps or anything you have to worry about from here. So again, it makes life a lot simpler, less to worry about when you come to set up. We've got almost like a very much oversized kind of beam, so it's a slightly larger beam than you'd normally feel, around about 13 centimeters. So again, helps with the overall structural stability of the awning, but also again just gives a bit more reassurance, which we all do quite like. I like to say the fact we've got these kind of oversized zips on the actual parts, and again, really quite nice detailing when we've got sort of curved panel. It's kind of followed necessarily behind with the kind of zip part itself, and again it's a kind of a blow molded tough kind of zip, so again it tends to be quite robust with it itself. Beautiful crystal clear windows as we talked about on the front, so we get that great sort of visibility out onto the campsite as and when we need to. But we've got these kind of curtains. Now the joys of the curtains, certainly with Vango, is you've got the choice for going for like a traditional kind of look, kind of like the caravan or homely look as we see here. Failing that, if you don't want that kind of look, what you can do is you've got little poppers which essentially retain it back, so very easy again to use. You can just kind of zip it down, get that level of privacy when you want to. Again, even like the little point there, you've got a really nice kind of handle on the tab, and then again just open it up and take it down to there, so you can treat it more you know, like a kind of tenty kind of style curtain. Again, you can choose the coverage you've got, a little bit of light, or if you don't want it in it completely, you can simply take it all the way down to the bottom. There's just some zips located there, and again little press studs just at the bottom to kind of keep it all neat and tidy. out of sight and out of mind. So it makes life a little bit easier just to put together. So you've got two on this point. I think actually I do quite like the pattern they've done in the kind of part. It's quite modern in one way. And what you find actually also matches the roof line. So the roof line actually comes as standard with the ProShield. So that's going to help, you know, sort of fight off condensation, give it that kind of more homely feel. If you don't necessarily like it because it obviously decreases the internal height a smidge, but then all you can do is actually just unclip it, take it back, and it's actually physically stitched in along the side. Again, it's stitched in because it gives you a much better feel, and I think you can get a lot more torsion into it as well. And what you would do is almost the same premise we've done with the curtains. We just roll it back. It's got little button clips. Just look at it at the top to kind of keep it nice and neatly at bay. So, yeah, I think it's quite nice. And again, the pattern I think is quite smart without being a little bit dated. So, from the side panels we've got here, we talked about that kind of 70-30 kind of scenario. So again, you can see that here. You've still got zip curtains on the side. Admittedly, it's just kind of straight directly down, but you get a much more better coverage all the way through, and again you can adapt the height as you can see. I talked about on the outside is actually kind of little clasp retainers. These work quite nicely, so it's like a buckle kind of clip. You've got a lot of extension on that, so you can actually quite happily wrap that round and get it into that position. And then you've got that part down there with the mesh door located, so the flexibility of swift swatching these panels over is a big bonus. Other things that are worth kind of, I've said a bit more point of difference, I touched on really about how some things are included which you wouldn't normally get. So for this we're talking things like the draft skirt, the wheel arch covers, the system that seals it against the caravan, the storm straps, all the rock pegs, all these little things kind of built up to make, you know, what would be, well, the roof liner. You know, you're talking maybe £100, £150 you buy them additionally from a different manufacturer, and that's all included in there. So it makes the whole kind of awning a bit better value than you first think about. And the premise I always use is Vango probably arguably aren't the brand everyone goes to for the flavour awning, but what they're trying to do is obviously give themselves a bit more of a point in the marketplace, and by doing all these things to almost offset the go-to company you go to and still retain the kind of quality that we know and the features and the feel that we want from our caravan awnings, I think it's got a lot going for it, to be honest. Vango have their own kind of unique draft seal system, so it's the ability to basically seal it against the caravan. So there's no polesing required pretty much anywhere in the awning, again, and keeps it completely air. What it essentially is, it uses the fixation point through the caravan rail at the top, and then a connection point down to draft skirt rail. Now, what you do is feed a bit directly into the draft skirt rail, and it enables you to create an anchorage point from the top and the bottom, and then you can basically increase the pressure on the webbing strap, pushing the foam pad against it. It works really well, like I said, here with windows, when we can apply different amounts of pressure on the top of the window, to the middle of the window, to the bottom of the window. So again, you see you've got triangle points basically forcing it in, and you can almost see it, kind of the contours of it going around the window. So it's something they've worked on for a few years now, and you've got a cover as well to kind of keep it nice and neatly at bay. But again, it's a nice little concept. You've got also Vango's SkyTrack system up here as well, which is then allows you to have a hanging kind of organizer, so you can basically declutter the main part of the awning and add accessories and a bit more functionality into it. We talked about the side panels also removing. There's a range of optional annexes you can zip onto this if you wanted to kind of increase it in terms of for storage space or sleeping. So you get a 2-berth annex and go on either end, so you sleep 4 people in the awning if you wanted to. If you don't want to go to the extent of buying an annex, there's also a bedroom section that takes up pretty much half the area. There's little red toggles up here which kind of it connects into. So again, there's lots of kind of little flexibilities and little details that maybe you wouldn't first realise. Overall, I think the Balletto ProShield is a really nice model. Something I think from a price point of view, and when we talked about value with all the extras, I think comes out quite on top. Certainly one we're having on display at our indoor showroom, so if you want to kind of see it in the flesh, get a feel for it, look at the design of it, I think it's worth definitely looking for. For more information, by all means, you can check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website. We've got more information on things like the pack sizes, floor dimensions, individual features, everything from kind of our inflation video, picture and packing videos. So there's a lot of kind of details you can always check in, and we'd always love to hear from you guys on what you think of it, how it compares to previous its previous models like the Braemar, the Vicala, the Summersby, all those kind of different sort of pre-generation versions of the new Balletto. But by all means, comment in the box below. Let us know what you think. It's always great to hear. But thank you for watching, and we'll hope to see you again soon.